everybody. Welcome to Set Life. I am Kelly Leger, and this is
Amber Buto.
And today we have an awesome guest with us, really an ambassador to film here in Houston, our very own Alfred Cervantes.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we are so glad you're here with us today.
We are. And he has done such amazing things with the Houston Film Commission here. I am just so grateful that we get to sit here together today.
Well, thank you for having me. And I'll tell you everything we're doing. So
awesome. Well, I'm just thankful that we have really a true ambassador. Like, you are not half-hearted about this job. He is working for Houston. I'll just say that in the film community. Like he is going for it.
And he's from the film community.
He's from the film community.
That even makes it better.
And he's from Houston. All matters. It all matters.
It's all true.
We have his buy-in here. Okay, so we like to get started with something a little bit fun here. So one word to describe yourself. You think I'm going this way, but I'm going this way. One word to describe yourself.
You surprised me.
I did.
One word.
To describe yourself.
Persistent.
Oof. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Could be good and could be bad.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with one comes for me is personally flexible. And I don't mean yoga.
Yeah.
I mean just flexible.
True.
Might be a director.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
All right.
So
it's
true.
coming over you. I gave you enough 30 seconds to think about it.
I'd like to say sometimes I tried helpful, but since you just used a word to describe me that I hadn't heard before, I'll just go with ambassador.
Yeah.
It's good. It's
true.
a good word.
Yes, you are a helpful ambassador.
Absolutely.
Which is truly your heart. I mean, I've got to spend some time with you and been to some things with you, and your heart for this industry is so genuine, so kind. To see the Houston industry thrive, grow, infused with knowledge, expertise, efforts, however and whatever you can do to help the industry has been nothing short of inspiring to get to listen to, watch, see, hear, and just super grateful and appreciative for that in you for us in the industry here and just as a friend. I just appreciate that as just being a good human and passionate about what you do. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes, we met last year, and here we are in your beautiful studio. So this is fantastic. But yeah, the goal, Houston is a dynamic, huge city. And I've been working in film since 1992, so it's been a long time.
Is that like over 30 years?
Math is hard, but it's a long time. It's a long time, but I do love what I do. And whatever knowledge I have, my goal is to share it with anyone else who is striving to work in the media industry or the film industry in the fourth largest city in the country.
Yep.
So,
It is. Okay, so I just want to jump into it here.
Yeah.
If it's all right. So,
let's do it.
Alfred, tell me because we've bragged on the fact that you are a native Houstonian. We're from the film industry. You've been around for a long time. You're not going anywhere anytime soon. You're vested in us as a community. How did you get your start, though? Like, where did this whole thing start for you?
Okay. That started, I think, like any young person, I was actually drawn to the communications field. So during college, I was a writer for the Daily Cougar newspaper. I was lucky that when I was a teenager, really something that sparked it was my uncle introduced me to photography. And he was a professional photographer.
Wow.
And so once he taught me how to develop my own photos in his darkroom and develop film and these things, that's kind of where it started.
Yeah.
And so I geared myself towards being in the communications field by working at the college newspaper. Then I became an advertising runner at the Houston Press newspaper just to get communications newspapers. I know, right? Which is Houston Press is only online these days, so they certainly don't print it anymore.
Yeah.
But then I learned how to do video on my own, never thinking that I would end up in the film business or helping people make feature productions, things like that. And then one day, I did take a film class in high school. Again, I was interested in it at that time,
That's
developing
cool.
my own pictures. And I took a 1 semester film class just to get out of taking drama. So I know we're on a video podcast here and it's being recorded, but I'm usually more comfortable behind the camera, and I have a face for radio, so that's all good too. But I took this 1 semester film course, and the woman who taught it, the high school film course, after that finished high school, and then 3 years later, I was living in the Heights, and there was a letter on the fence that said, "We're filming an independent movie down the street. If you'd like to come and watch, you can stand on the corner at this time."
Oh my
Blah blah
gosh.
blah. Signed a woman named Kim Crabb, and that's an unusual name. Her last name is Crabb, Crabb. And I recognized the name from this high school class, this filmmaking class. So I just went down there and I asked a PA that had a walkie. I said, I had the letter in my hand.
Wow.
I said, I live down the street. I just want to say hi to Kim Crabb if she's around. And a PA called her on the walkie-talkie. And it was amazing because I wasn't even sure if I would recognize her 3 years later in high school and all that. But she walked up. And I said, "Kim, I don't know if you remember me, but I took this high school class with you in filmmaking." And then almost immediately she says, "Do you want to work on this movie?"
Get out of here.
And almost immediately I said yes.
Yes.
Oh, of
And
course.
so she gave me a phone number and an address. She said, "Either go to this address or call them, tell them I sent you, and you can be a PA if you want to, a production assistant." And so I did right away. And at that time it was summer, so I asked the Houston Press if I could take a leave of absence to work on this independent feature. They said yes. And I told the production, I said, "Look, I'll work for free during the week, but I need to eat and buy gas and things like this," right? So I said, "I have to keep my weekend job," which was as a bellman at a hotel. And so, so anyway, I worked on this independent feature for 3 weeks. I think we shot maybe 4 weeks actually back then. And it was shot on 35 millimeter. It had Karen Black in it, was one of the stars. And, but it was all new to me at that time. It was fascinating. And then after that, that was it. I went on from one film to the next, and was very lucky that I did keep busy until I didn't have to do other jobs. And so I ended up working in production after doing a lot of set PA work and production office PA work. Became a assistant production coordinator, and then production coordinator, then production manager on some small projects. And then I started specializing in locations. So I moved into the locations department on some TV movies and some projects. And I worked freelance 3.5 years full time working on movies. And this was back in the early mid 90s. And so we did have regular production. This was before incentives and all these things. And so it was a different time. And a lot of the projects I worked on shot on 35 millimeters. So it was a totally different time. But so I started specializing in locations, and then the position at the Film Commission came open, and somebody said you should apply for that. And I really didn't know what they did or anything at that time. And so I applied, and I got the job, and that was a long time ago also. But everything I'd done production-wise fit together for what I do now, which is help people find what they need to successfully shoot in the greater Houston area.
Wow. So, would you say that you obviously production is such a huge beast. There's so many different facets. You got your left brain category, right brain category. Did you always gravitate more toward logistics and that side of the brain, or creative, or where were you?
Great question. So when I started off, I really enjoyed being a production assistant on set because you get to interact with all the departments. So even that very first job I had, I would run things from the production office to the set and learn what the different departments needed to do their jobs. And so I helped wardrobe, I helped camera, I helped grip and electric, all these things. And
so true.
And so it was a good education of learning how it all operates.
Which they say the first set you're on like that is your film school.
Oh yeah,
right. It's like a film school because you do touch all the different departments, and you're learning how it all works and how it all works together in real time.
Sure.
With the pressures of the deadlines and the budgets and all of that.
Yeah. And my chosen path was I certainly had friends who really wanted to be on set more than in the production office. But myself, I wanted to be in the production office because it's basically shipping and receiving. You do everything for the set to happen. And so I ended up getting jobs as an office PA and working in the office more. Also, I did work on plenty of jobs in the summer outdoors in Houston, and that's pretty hot. But
that's really hot.
I always say if you're making a movie in the summer here, you're earning your money if you're working shooting on location. But so I kind of moved myself towards production stuff in the office, and then also locations because I'm a native Houstonian. People started asking me, where can I find this? Where can I find that location?
Nice.
And it just kind of all fit together. And so I again moved into the locations department, and then. Still, that's a primary component of what we do at the Film Commission is we have a online location library of
which is fabulous.
Film-friendly locations, and we're always trying to add film-friendly or potential locations to our database to share with producers when they need it. So, and the fun part of the job too is we never know what we're looking for. So, right now I'm looking for a swimming hole for a project. We've been on most of the rooftops of the buildings downtown. It's always something different that a creative needs, and so. But to answer your question, I'm more fascinated with nuts and bolts behind the camera. Making it happen.
Well, but a lot of times we think about creativity only being the writer, the director, the acting, the art, production design. But there's as much creativity that happens logistically and producing wise, and things that aren't directly necessarily on a production set than you think. So, I mean, I'm sure you're extremely creative in the midst of the logistics side.
Well, I think it's the assistance in the creative, right? I mean, it's really marrying those two together in such a finite way to maximize the creativity of the creator.
Even the problem solving can be creative, though. I'm sure that you're...
It's true,
trying to figure out all the time.
Yeah.
Having done this so long, what I strive to do, or something I learned, was the best thing that we can do at the Film Commission is help a director get as close to their original vision as possible. Because filmmaking is nothing but a compromise the whole way, right? So it's nothing but a compromise depending on schedule and money and all these things. So what we try to do is find exactly when we help a project, the best way for us to help a producer is to receive their screenplay or their storyboards, their treatment or reference photos, whatever tells us creatively of what they're trying to do. And then we can help them find it, pinpoint it in the greater Houston area. So projects that I've helped where the director is super happy with the options. Those are projects that are, we want to make the director happy and have a great experience and all these things. But that's one thing I learned. That's what we strive to do is help them get as close as possible to that vision because again, it is a compromise the whole step of the way.
And I think there's what a lot of people don't know too is there's two kind of types of producers. There's the producer that's running the set, that's there on set producing, and then you have your kind of administrative producer that is not on set, isn't there all the time, but is working. Let's say if that film takes 3-5 years to get made, all the things that happen beforehand, connecting all the dots and pulling it all together, you're shooting for what, a month, 2 months, whatever that is. But there is a producer that stays on set the entire time, running it the whole time. But then you have your producers that, kind of set up, here are your options. Here's what you can start with to get to that place. If you
include line producers, all your executive producers and various, you get into with a whole liturgy of, producers with their assignments, what they're given to. You're right. There's a lot of
I just read a quote last night, actually, that said, I'm not sure what producers do anymore because I'm not sure why we need 45 of them on a film. It was from a bigger star, should I say, that is just,
somebody's agent negotiated.
That's right. That's right.
For that credit.
Right.
Wow. Gosh. Well, speaking of, you're talking about all these locations, we know this because we are also native Houstonians, native Texans. Not everybody knows, about, how should I say, what Houston has to offer. you know, you're talking about swimming holes and rooftops and like, you know, we got the country and the city I mean, they don't call us diverse city for no reason, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We have a lot.
Yeah, Houston, again, we are a wide swath of land here. You know, we're a ginormous area. And so, yes, we do have a lot of things to offer that people really, we're still getting the word out. It's amazing to me sometimes, as long as the internet's been around, that some people internationally especially don't have an idea of what Houston is, right? They think we have old West stuff here and that type, because we're Texas, right? So that's kind of the knee-jerk reaction. But we, again, have a beautiful downtown that's been used in plenty of car commercials. In fact, we are right now north of the city. And years ago, I helped a TV movie when I was at the Film Commission. We found them a piece of a little river close to here that had a sandbar and little palmetto trees, and they came and shot a TNT Western in the woodlands, right south of the woodlands, on this little stream area. It's supposed to be Cuba. That's my point. Is this little tributary close to here played for Cuba, and a TNT original movie called Rough Riders, and so it was about Teddy Roosevelt and Rough Riders, but they shot it right here across the freeway, real close to here.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing!
And it was a community center that had a pool, and I looked on a map, finding all these little streams and bayous and things that run in this area. And a key component for them was these little palmetto trees that stick up out of the ground, because they're like, that's what Cuba looks like. And lo and behold, I found them real close to here, and had a sandbar, had everything they needed. And so they housed right up here off of 45 North, and then shot part of the jungle near here. So it's part of that creativity. And you know, Houston has doubled for New York City. We've doubled for Chicago, St. Louis. We've done Miami down in Galveston. And so really 60 miles in each direction of downtown. We have a lot of different topographical looks to offer. It's true.
Yep. That is true.
Yep. Very true.
I can see that.
Wow.
I can see that.
Wow.
So I think it's just so great what you do with the Houston Film Commission website. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I refer to that to other people all the time. I'm like, hey, look, go here. They've got locations for you. They've got job postings for you. They've got cast, crew, all of it. You know, as far as studios, all those kind of things. You know, we were
getting
one of the
better
first
all
things.
the time too. I might add. Just saying.
Yeah, and so it's such a good resource that you've built for us here.
Thank you very much, because we are always trying to improve it and put useful resources on our website. Whenever I do presentations for producers, I go over each element on there. But just in the past 3 years, we added an online directory for of local crew people and production companies, and so that's fairly new. So it's still being populated by people, by film professionals in the Houston area. We have a link on there which is has been useful so far. We added this during the last few years too, where property owners, whether you're a homeowner, business owner, whatever, you can self-submit your location to our location database.
Oh, great.
And then we can get in touch with that property owner to go and further take more pictures or share it in our database with producers. And so that's something we added in the last few years to the website. And of course, something that grows every week is the email list for our cast and crew call page, because we post opportunities there every week of projects that are happening in the greater Houston area. My joke about the cast and crew call page is that every once in a while there's a paid gig on there, because it is used by student filmmakers and, you know, short filmmakers who don't have much money, whatever, but still you got to start somewhere.
That's
so
right.
We're happy to share the information if they are serious about what they're setting out to do. And so people can find good opportunities. In fact, just this week, we posted 2 independent features that are going to be gearing up for shoots here in the next few months. And these are paid crew positions and paid casting positions as well. So it's a very helpful thing. We have about 8,400 people on the email list, and it grows every week. And so So if people are looking for opportunities in the Houston area to get involved with projects, they can get on that email list, and we send it out every week to that email list.
Wow, that's come a long way from when I was young and interested in the entertainment industry in Houston. I remember calling some phone number that would tell me about all the things that were going on in Texas
that's
that you
hysterical.
could audition for. And
that
be a
was
part of.
well, we did have a voicemail phone number. We used to call it the production hotline, and someone that worked in our office updated it every week, and it was kind of funny because she would update it on Fridays, and it's a voicemail recording.
Right.
So if she messes up, she'd have to start all over again. When there's like
33.
right. And so it was kind of funny. But now it's, of course, on our website, and we send it out to this email list. So it is a lot more efficient now.
I mean, every week it was like Walker, Texas Ranger, Walker, Texas Ranger, Walker, Texas Ranger, Walker. That was like the thing. Like I'm dating myself, but you know.
Yeah, because the Texas Film Commission also had a voicemail one. That's probably the one you're referring to. It's a statewide one, but now theirs is online on their website as well.
Gotcha. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I've sent a lot of interns because part of, helping the next generation get involved in this industry, much like we hear a lot of the stories from the veterans that we have on here that have been in the industry a long time and their expertise and kind of a little behind the scenes of how they got to where they're at and all of that is, I tell all the interns, go find something to get on. Go PA somewhere, just much like your story. You had a little note that you just followed up on and you went and made yourself, usable in a film setting, and you learned all kinds of facets of the industry. That's the same thing. I'm like, you have set up such a great program. Use that information in that program to help get you into the industry and teach you and find where you ultimately want to fit in the industry.
It's totally true. That's perfect advice because I tell filmmakers when I meet with them, excuse me, producing 101 is you don't get if you don't ask, right? So you have to step up and let people know what you want to do, what your goals are, and then all that. And as you move up, when I first started, you have to let people know that you're not a PA anymore, you're a production coordinator. So, you turn down those PA jobs. It's a transition, but you have to do it yourself as you gain more experience. And sometimes it's tough, but then, then eventually I had to let people know I'm a location scout and location manager and all those things. But that's up to if you as a freelance person, if you're going to be working in the industry, is to make that transition and say, okay, I have enough experience doing that. Now this is my next step and those types of things. But no one's a mind reader. You need to let people know what it is you're aiming to do so they can help you.
Yeah, it's one of the first questions I ask the young kids are, what if you're going to intern here, what do you want to do? What is your focus? What is your dream? What are you trying to work towards? And then let me help encourage you in that. But also you will do about every other job because that is the film industry. I mean, definitely. You work in all of it. I think we've talked a lot about how we've all been involved in all aspects of film, which makes us better at the positions that we all hold. Because you can understand the lingo good enough, speak the lingo good enough, know how to manage in a certain way.
I think rarely somebody starts where they finish in our industry. We all start somewhere and then you graduate or you find things you have more of a propensity towards, things you like, you enjoy, and I think it's all kind of going back to what I was talking to you earlier about the left and right brain and logistics versus creative. Creative has a million flavors. And we do this thing with our staff and here at the studio. We do these personality tests. So we're all, and they give little like animal names to them. So somebody's the otter and somebody's the lion, or the Labrador or whatever, the golden retriever. And they all have these personality types. That's like worth taking to find out where you might fit in, like where you're going to, even before you hop into it. Like I would be better here because that's going to annoy me, or that's just not organized enough, or that's just, whatever the case may be.
For sure.
That's worth considering.
Yeah, it is.
All those things.
That helps define teamwork, right? And on sets, there's a large team that has to work together. And what I think is so interesting about this industry is being able to take the creative with the executive mind or the, producer mind and be able to marry those
show and the business
together
in one.
Marry those together and successfully produce a show that goes on to be distributed to, make its little mark in the world, takes both sides to complete that.
Definitely.
So one can't be mad at the other one, and the other one can't be. I mean, you have to find a happy medium to work together in the way that you communicate to each other
100%.
and respect your differences and make it a true team. And that's kind of what we were trying to do around here. It's like, how do we marry our creatives with our little producers?
Takes a lot of ingredients to bake that cake.
Well, filmmaking or production is the most collaborative art medium, right? So,
true.
I visited a set last fall of a movie, late summer movie that shot in town, and they were shooting at a mansion. And I knew there was going to be a lot of people on set. I was expecting maybe 40, 50 people because it's an independent feature. I got there, and there was 200 people on set that day. And literally, when I'm doing presentations for like chambers of commerce or people who want to hear about the film industry, I describe it this way sometimes, is that if you're making a narrative film, you could have 2 people sitting at a table and 50 people behind the camera making that happen, right? So you have the set dressing who put the table and chairs there. You have the special effects department who lit the candles. You have the props department who put the wine bottles there, whatever. So, but this particular day, there was 200 people on set and literally 2 people in front of the camera for the scene in a gazebo. And it was pretty impressive. But so I'm impressed with you guys because here we are in the studio. We're being recorded on camera, but there's nobody behind the cameras here. So it's
us. It's us.
That is us.
It's amazing technology. I know. No, they're up in the booth. I know
Work
that.
smarter, not harder.
Wow.
That's amazing. But anyway, it takes a village.
Sure.
For sure.
It does.
Sure.
Yeah.
It does. And I think that's super cool to get to be a part of and watch as we create this magic that happens in films, and I think that's the part that we really try to tell here is little stories. I said that when we were talking before we got on camera, how, we wanted it to be like just we were all sitting on set because really that's what we do. When we're making a film, we all sit around on sets like
stories.
this. We tell stories. You really become a family when you spend so much time together, creating together and spending time together to kind of unveil and be able to hear that and encourage other people that are in the industry to be friends and be kind to this family, and also to inspire other people that it is a true family that you're getting involved in the industry that we're here to create. And, one of our passions here at the studio is to help cultivate that here in Houston as a community, and our hearts align in that with our 2 organizations, with yours and ours is, I know your heart is really to foster a strong media industry here in Houston.
Ambassador.
Yeah.
It's his word, ambassador.
Yes.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, Houston's a wide swath of land, so I'm glad you're up here on the north, and there are some other film-related companies up here, and the Woodlands has been very helpful to film productions, and so I'm glad that we have the Woodlands so close because the market there and the waterway and everything's really nice for people, and it's been used many times. So, but there's so many parts of Houston that have these supportive communities, but the sometimes I think our size works against us because, it's we don't have as many opportunities for, say, some other communities that are walkable or tighter to come together, right? So throughout the year, there's probably a few opportunities to actual, interact with other film people, that type of thing. Unless, people coming to your studio, which is fantastic.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
But switching gears a little bit. Okay, so just as the producer and me, Texas film incentives were good and then tanked a little bit. I mean, what light can you shine on that for us?
Define that a little bit for people who might not exactly know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly film incentives are.
So the Texas Motion Picture incentives are for projects. It's actually it's the Texas Moving Image Industry Incentive Program. So
and that's a talent, folks.
Right there.
It's a mouthful. It's TMIIIP.
Wow.
That's the technical.
I was gonna
just
guess it, but
no, we'll let him do that.
We'll
That's
just call
amazing.
it the incentive program. Right. That's right. But that's the official name, the TMIIIP. So So our incentive program for the state of Texas has been around since 2007, 2008. And of course, I'll give you the brief history of incentives because I started before incentives were a thing. Around the turn of the century, 1999, the first place to institute an incentive to draw Hollywood producers was Canada. So at the end of the 90s, Canada started putting the word out that if you're a Hollywood production and you come shoot in Canada, you can save 30%. We'll give you back or save 30% of your production costs by shooting in Canada. So, and at that time, I remember looking it up. The exchange rate was favorable for to Americans, and so I don't think that's the case any longer. But once the word was out about Canada, where you can save 30%, a lot of production.
Vancouver, boom.
Exactly. Toronto became known as New York North. So any movie that was set in New York streets, you could do in Toronto. Vancouver blew up because the country. And what was kind of unfair at that time is Canada made it easy for producers to go there, but the more Canadian crew you hire, the more you save. And so I remember speaking to producers in the early 2000s that one producer that we were scouting for, hoping to get the project here, is a TV movie. That's back in the days of the original movies of the week and things like that, right? The producer said, Alfred, we want to come there, but we're looking at Canada. And he's like, guess how many people I can take with me from US? He said 0, because the more you hire there, the more you can save. And they made it difficult for Americans to get work visas and that type of thing. So, producers went to Canada for a number of years. Now, to combat that, well, what happened was any major city that had regular production, Houston, Dallas, Austin, for a while there between 2005 and or the early 2000s and the end of the first decade of the 2000s, a lot of production went to Canada. And the first state to create a domestic incentive was the state of Louisiana. So they created a domestic incentive in about 2005 and based on a tax credit system. And then early on, because it was the first incentive program, it had some, it wasn't perfect. They gave the producers money back that they even spent in LA, which wasn't right as an incentive program. But again, it was the first one in the United States. So, but now, as they've kind of hashed it out over the years, once Louisiana proved that it could work, then other states jumped on board too. And so not every state has an incentive program. There's plenty that don't, but there are some states that are very aggressive with their incentive programs based on a corporate tax credit system. And so those states that are the most aggressive have a state income tax and a corporate tax liability. And so those states operate on this bottomless bucket, at least Georgia does, a bottomless bucket of corporate tax credits that they give back to producers who sell these tax credits discounted to other Georgia-based industries. And that's how it works in Georgia and Louisiana and New Mexico. Now, what we had to do, actually Florida beat us to the punch by establishing a state incentive in Florida before Texas, because they also don't have a state income tax. So very early on, and again, this was right after 2005, the Florida Film Commission asked their state government for $10 million to use as incentive money to give back to productions that were looking at their state. And right away, a couple productions took advantage of it. Bad Boys 2, I think, was one of them. And then the Miami Vice feature. And what they learned really quickly was they gave all their incentive money to 2 projects. And so they ran out of money really fast. And so, again, these were the early days of incentive programs, and everybody's learning what's most effective and these types of things. So our incentive program, the state of Texas, came around in 2007, 2008, and it's also a rebate grant system like Florida's was, where if you spend money in the state making your production, you can apply to receive money back from the Texas Film Commission. And that's how our still works, is a rebate grant system based on how much you spend in the state. And
that's anything you spend in the state on production, or
no, it's a graduated incentive. So the more you spend, the more you're eligible to ask back from the state of Texas, and the maximum is 22.5%. And that's only if you intend to spend 3.5 million or over making your production in the state of Texas. The basic parameters to qualify are that 70% of your crew must be Texas residents, 70% of your cast must be Texas residents, and then 60% of your production days must be achieved in the state of Texas. And so those are the basic parameters to qualify. But then depending on how much you spend, it's a tiered level. The first tier is for projects you spend between $250,000 and $1 million. You can ask for up to 7.5% back. The next tier is for if you intend to spend between $1 million and $3.5 million, you can ask for up to 12.5% back. And then the highest tier is if you spend between upwards of 3.5 making your project in the state of Texas, you can ask for 22.5% back from the state of Texas. Okay. So that's how it works, and that's what it is. But it's a rebate grant system now. The most recent situation is that it's not as well funded as it needs to be. Okay. Georgia has a bottomless bucket of corporate tax credits to dole out to the motion picture industry, and that's why things are humming right along there with studio projects. Now, at least Louisiana puts a cap per year on how many motion picture tax credits they dole out, and their cap is $150 million per year. Okay. So that's all they will dole out in motion picture tax credits in Louisiana. And then New Mexico will only give out $110 million per year in motion picture tax credits. So we just started the new legislative session to ask our state for incentive money, and the Texas Motion Picture Alliance will be asking for $200 million split over 2 years to use as incentive money, which, if approved, will at least make us competitive with our neighboring states and how much that they provide in the way of tax credits. Right. So that's kind of the latest information. And if what's important is for anyone that lives in Texas or in the Houston area, or actually just in Texas, to approach your representative in Austin and tell them to support this bill, or ask them to support this bill when it comes around, because it's proven that it creates jobs and dollars in the state of Texas and brings production to Texas, but also Texas-based projects can take advantage of this motion picture incentive as well. So we also want to create homegrown filmmakers as well, and so they can apply for it. But even also, it's not only for narrative features and television series. Reality TV shows can apply for this. Commercials can apply for this. So it's awesome. A video game production can apply for this. So it's a number of different types of production that can take advantage of the incentive program. That's great. And if you don't mind me saying, where people can learn about this is TXMPA.org, which stands for Texas Motion Picture Alliance, TXMPA.org. And just this morning, they posted a new flyer with all the latest statistics of their studies about how the economic impact in the way of media production in the state of Texas. So it's a helpful information about our industry in the state of Texas that people can go there and find information.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I fully support it. You know, I believe in it. I think it's great. I know that you're a part of it, and a lot of people that we know are strongly behind it and really pushing for the cause to happen here. And I just think we have so much to offer to not have that support behind us, and to watch a lot of productions go to our neighboring states.
Yes, it's painful.
It's painful, to say the least.
Well, it's even more painful when it's a Texas story that ends up shooting in New Mexico or Louisiana. That's really painful, and because we know these are stories that should be told where they're from, in my opinion. And but because we don't have a competitive incentive, this does happen, and it has happened. And so we definitely need support for this bill, because we're missing out on a lot by not having a competitive incentive compared to our neighboring states.
So, and I think there's a misperception by the general public about it, that everybody would just move here, more so than productions could just live here, right? So you can have productions that don't last forever here, but that come and bring jobs and bring awareness and all of that here to Texas, and also go somewhere else to live at times too. And you also, like you said, allow the creatives from here to stay here and produce from here, you know, which is our heart for sure. I mean, all of us would love to creatively stay here in our hometown and, all work together and cultivate more talent from here
And I will
use the
say,
talent.
along with that directory that you guys have, we have a great creative here in Houston. We have great cinematographers and great editors and grip and lighting and everything that you would find in LA or New York, and which I've shot for years in both. We have right here, in Houston, Houston as well.
Yeah.
So it's a good place for all of that. We are open for business. Come shoot with us.
Yes.
Here. So
yeah. Well, we have just enjoyed our time with you, and what a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And if I could just mention, our office, we're a free information resource. So if there's any filmmaker that needs information or help, that's what we're there for. Our door's open to any filmmaker. Our department, Houston Film Commission, is a division of Houston First, our parent company that promotes and markets Houston, and then also visit HoustonTexas.com. We're part of that entity as well. So again, we have a lot of other resources, not only in the film realm, but just anyone looking to come to the city of Houston. We're all there to help make that happen.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, we'll add all of those tags and
we'll link
links and all that fun stuff for anybody that's interested. And again, just thank you for your knowledge. Thank you for your support and everything that you do for us in the media industry here in Houston and really the state of Texas. I mean, I know your heart's Houston, but you do a lot for the state of Texas too. So we really appreciate that. And we'll see you again on Set Life. Thanks for tuning in.